Hello everyone, welcome back to ERU, where we look at all the big stories and games from the weekend. I hope everyone is not quite as tired as me after the Super Bowl last night. I foolishly stayed up once more, got sucked into it, and ended up going to bed about 3 o'clock or something silly like that. Yeah, good game though, good fun as always. Joining me, the Snoop Doggy Dog himself, Mikey McCubbin. How you doing?
Yeah, that's a new one. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm good. I was in bed at 11 last night. I have no time for the Super Bowl. Maybe I'll come around to it sometime, but yeah, it's just too much of a commitment on a Sunday night for me. Fair play for staying up, Henry. But yeah, I'm good, thanks. I'm good. Had a nice weekend, so yeah, can't complain.
Oh, good. I mean, to be honest, I only do it for the halftime show, which was quite fun this year.
Who was on it this year?
Well, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre.
Oh right, I see.
Hence why I've called you that. Not completely random. But yeah, no, that was good fun as always. But anyway, we're not here to talk about American football this week. If you want to know about sort of American football, check out our MLS video of Soccer in the States, which has just come out on EFD. But we're here to really kick off with a story about Madrid, because our story of the week comes in from @SwagaToSarkar66, and that's Reguilón potentially being lined up as a replacement for Marcelo. Mikey, what can you tell us about this one?
Yeah, apparently, Carlo Ancelotti is kind of looking at players to replace Marcelo. It's rumoured that he could even retire at the end of the season. His contract is, of course, up this summer, and he's been second choice at the Bernabeu for a while now, hasn't he? Ever since really the signing of Ferland Mendy back in 2019, was it? But the 33-year-old did play on the weekend. Obviously, Mendy's is currently out with a hamstring injury. And yeah, didn't have a great game, to be honest, in that 0-0 draw with VfL. Made 0 interceptions. He was dribbled past 4 times and lost possession 6 times. So a far from solid performance from the Brazilian. And yeah, according to the Mirror, this has accelerated the club's urgency to find a replacement. And apparently Tottenham Sergio Reguilón is in line for an early return to the Bernabeu. Of course, he was signed from Madrid for 30 million euros in September 2020. But Madrid did keep that buyback clause, didn't he, in the deal? That allows them to re-sign him for 46 million euros. Though some other reports claim that it's only 40 million. So, yeah, I mean, it's not too bad a deal in that sense. They'd be making a 10 million euro loss on a player that they, could have just kept. But nevertheless, I think if they're really desperate to find a more solid backup to Mendy, then perhaps this will be, the most economical way of doing so. That clause expires this summer, though, so they would have to act pretty swiftly. And yeah, Ancelotti is said to be keen on doing that. So yeah, obviously they left back's a bit of an issue for them. Ferland Mendy, I think, has been excellent when he has been fit this season, but yeah, recurrent injuries, isn't it? I think he's had 3 spells now on the sidelines. None massively long term, but 3-4 weeks at a time is just not ideal when you're trying to kind of secure that title, and especially in years to come when Barcelona and Atleti, you expect them to come back in a bigger way next season. So yeah, holding sorting that left back position is going to be really key for them. But Henry, what would this mean for Tottenham if Reguilón was to leave?
I think this would be a massive blow for Spurs if they did activate that release, buyback clause. He's played 60 times for the club since he signed on, and I think he's been really impressive. I think if we look at some of their other defensive signings in recent times, Emerson Royale, Matt Doherty, Joe Rodon, he even joined at the same time that Lo Celso's deal was made permanent. I think you have to say that Reguilón has easily been the best of those additions. Really smart player, really likeable player down that left flank. I mean, if you even just look at him this season, he's played 19 times in the league. He's Spurs' second most used defender by minutes, behind the mighty Eric Dyer. And he's also scored 1, registered 3 assists, and got 3 assists last season too. So he's a threat. I think defensively he's pretty sound. And if we can, to repeat myself, if you look at the sort of turmoil of them trying to sort out that slot at right wing back, I think Reguilón's rather held his own for Spurs. Although, I mean, like the entire squad, had a really tricky game against Wolves this weekend. But it is worth remembering he has massive pedigree over in La Liga 2. In 2019-20, he spent that excellent season on loan at Sevilla. He became a full Spanish international. I think he's got about 6 caps for his country now. won the Europa League and was named in the team of the tournament for that competition. So yeah, if Madrid's finances are sorted, obviously they sold it at the time to sort of try fund some rebuild, but if their finances are sorted now, I think this would be a really smart pickup. However, it might not just be down to Reguilón for the next slot at left back at Real Madrid, because according to various publications in Spain, including El Nacional, Arsenal's Kieran Tierney is also an option. The Daily Record were getting very excited about this, from what I could see in the news. Apparently, Celtic have got some like sell-on clause as well, which they're licking their lips at the prospect of this, because he's reportedly a £50 million target for Madrid. That's about double what the Gunners paid for the 24-year-old back in 2019. Just how happy they would be or willing to let him go, I'm not quite sure. But Ancelotti is an open admirer of the Scot. He called him a really good player during his Celtic days, when it looked like Napoli were actually chasing him. Napoli were going after him. I think Napoli had a couple of left backs already at that moment. But yeah, according to a number of reports, apparently he's infatuated by Tierney and is quite keen to maybe explore a transfer. Once again, would Arsenal want to sell him, or is £50 million too tempting for a player like Tierney? That remains to be seen. But I mean, McCubbin, I suppose my question to you is, if you had a sort of straight choice between the two, who would you go for on this regard, Reguilón or Tierney?
Oh, I don't know. I think I generally prefer Tierney. I think he's a more exciting attacking left back in my eyes. But I mean, Reguilón, I think there's not too much to choose between them, to be honest. I think maybe I'm just going for Tierney because I'd love to see him go to Real Madrid. I can't think of the last time a Scottish player played for one of the big Spanish clubs, so it would be a first for many years, I think. Forgive me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I can't think of a Scottish international who's played for Barca or Real in my lifetime even. But yeah, I think I'd just go for that, just for the pure fun of it. Reguilón going back would just be a bit boring, wouldn't it? Yeah. But he might be a safer bet just because of his La Liga experience. But yeah, what do you think, Henry?
Yeah, I think that Reguilón, exactly. I think because he knows the league, because they have that buyback clause, it'd be a lot easier to get that deal done. I think if we consider what else Real Madrid are going to be looking to do this summer, big moves up front, I probably would just go for Reguilón just for the ease of that transfer. Just tick one box and move on. But I completely agree with you about Tierney. I was just trying to think. I reckon Paul Lambert winning the Champions League with Borussia Dortmund is about as glamorous as it's got on the continent for the Scots. So yeah, I think he's a fantastic player though, Tierney. But I do kind of think he's a perfect fit for Arsenal, so I wouldn't want to see that upset at the moment. But anyway, guys, at home, let us know who you think Real Madrid should move for next, and maybe what you think Marcelo should do. Is he going to retire, or is he going to would it be a good free agent pickup for any side? Let us know in the comments down below, and we'll move on to our result of the weekend.
So for our result of the week, we couldn't really go anywhere else but Germany, because Bochum, Bayern Munich, this comes at the suggestion of Isak Krishnan, Henry. This was just an absolute mess of a game, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolute class. Just a quick shout out to Lyon. They got an excellent 2-0 win over Nice. Lots of videos of Tanguy Ndombele sort of showing what he can do finally. And yeah, across Germany, big results. Greuther Fürth beat Hertha 2-1, their second win of the season. Wolfsburg snatched a massive 2-0 victory away at Eintracht Frankfurt. But you can't ignore Bochum beating Bayern Munich 4-2. I mean, what a stunning result against what basically look like the runaway leaders in the Bundesliga, aren't they? I mean, just to give you a bit of context, in the reverse fixture last December, Die Roten trounced Bochum 7-0 at the Allianz. Bochum promoted last season from the Bundesliga 2. And in this game, it looked like more of the same when Robert Lewandowski opened the scoring after 9 minutes at the Vonovia Ruhrstadion. You're getting the feeling that, here we go, it's going to be a long day in the office for Bochum. But they really roared back, and they were 4-1 up by half time, which is quite an astounding scoreline, certainly for a Bayern match, isn't it? I mean, if we look at the match itself, Christopher Antier, he levelled superbly after 14 minutes, turning well in the box. For Bayern, conceded 3 times in 8 minutes. I mean, how often do we say that? Once a penalty from Jürgen Locadia, who Brighton fans will remember, a great Christian Gamboa strike, And then a stunning finish from Gerrit Holtmann, who sort of had a really good game. I think he's got now 4 goals and 4 assists this season, but he curled in on his weaker left foot from the edge of the area, cut in a bit more on that goal later. But yeah, Lewandowski pulled one back. That's his 26th goal this season in something like 22 appearances. So he's just on absolute flames much more. But he can do anything to prevent a famous win for Bochum. I mean, Mikey, it really was quite amazing that they managed to pull this off and out of nowhere.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, quickly on Lewandowski, I think he's on the same amount of Boehly goals now as he was this time last season. Yeah. So I feel like he might be chasing down his own record again, which would be pretty astounding to see, wouldn't it? So let's hope he carries on that kind of form. But yeah, Bochum, I mean, yeah, no one saw this coming. They last defeated Bayern Munich in the league back in February 2004. It's also been 12 years since the Bavarians lost to a promoted side, and 48 years since they last conceded 4 in a first half, which is not overly surprising because most top clubs just don't do that, do they? But it was just a mad kind of 15 minutes before half time, wasn't it? Julian Nagelsmann, to be fair to him, was very quick to praise Bochum for their deserved victory, and yeah, they were very much worthy winners, I think. They only had 35% possession, but they managed more shots on target to Bayern. They managed 6 to Bayern's 5, and to limit Bayern Munich to 5 shots on target is a feat in itself, I think. And, the start of the second half, they had 2 goals ruled out for offside, one which was incredibly marginal. So, they could have had even more luck here. It could have been, like 5 or 6-1 before Lewandowski pulled one back. So, just a very, very clinical display, and obviously 2 worldies as well, which Bayern Munich couldn't really do much about. On another day, they might not have been, as fortunate with their strikes, but nevertheless, you have to hand it to the 2 scorers, to Gamboa and Holtmann for just superb technique on either edge of the box. Defensively sound as well. They completed 17 tackles amongst the back line, 18 interceptions, 22 clearances. A real shift from Armel Kotchap and Patrick Osterhager. They've now conceded just 16 in their last 15 matches, which is actually the best return in the Boehly. Doesn't say much about Bundesliga defences over the last few months, when no one is conceding less than a goal a game. But that's what makes it such an exciting league. It's really been a very entertaining competition to watch in recent months. As for Bayern, Dayo Upamecano didn't have a great game, didn't he? No. Did he? He was taken off at half time for Tolisso. He was at fault for the penalty. I think actually, to be fair, I think that is a very marginal call on the penalty.
I agree.
If I was the ref, I don't think I would have given that, actually. I think he was far too close. At least from the angle that I saw, it looked far too close proximity to be a handball. But he was also nutmegged by Holtmann for the 4th as well. Not a great day at the office for him. Also not a great day at the office for Niklas Süle, I thought. Obviously recently confirmed his move to Dortmund, and I think for that first goal that Bochum scored, he was just not close enough to his man at all, and just a bit slow on the turn, as we know he can be. So
head's gone. In
general, that Bayern defence was nowhere near its best, and it's funny actually because they've been criticised in the past for being playing a high line and letting in teams behind and whatnot. But in this game, it was just kind of marshalling the penalty area that they weren't very good at. I think there are question marks for Nagelsmann. They've still got enough of a cushion, don't they, on Dortmund at the moment, but they can't really afford to have too many more performances like this. But as for Bochum, this win keeps them in 11th, 6 points clear of the relegation playoff, and just as well considering, like you said, Wolfsburg won this weekend, Mönchengladbach, who are also being dragged into that relegation battle, won as well. So there is competition for places in the mid-table at the moment. Bayern, meanwhile, slipped to their 4th defeat of the season. They are still 6 points clear of Borussia Dortmund, despite that 3-0 win over Union Berlin. So no need to panic just yet, as I said, but they can't afford too many more of these. What did you make of this game? And do you still think Bayern are going to run away with the Boehly, or can you see Dortmund getting back into it? Let us know down below, and let's move on to our star of the week.
It's time for Star of the Week. I'm sorry for not putting Nabil Fekir in here. Lots of suggestions. However, we've gone with Steve Matthews' suggestion, Ángel Correa, what a player, Mikey. What a season he's having. Let's face it, because another great performance from the Argentine.
Yeah, I mean, he's really been dragging Atleti 3 games at the moment, hasn't he? Yeah, Nabil Fekir, big shout out, stunning performance for Betis against Levante. Scored twice, completed 7 dribbles, created 5 chances. Highly recommend you go and watch that. Betis, are really on a roll at the moment as well, aren't they? Marco Reus also scored his 150th goal for Dortmund. Got a brace in that game against Union. Great performance from him as well. We want to celebrate a Doogie Critchley favourite here. Ángel Correa obviously got a double in Atleti's dramatic 4-3 win over Getafe. Yeah, he was actually named January Player of the Month, wasn't he, Correa? I think he scored something like 4 or 5 goals in January, or like 4 or 5 goals in his last 6 games. Really been on a roll. Opened the scoring here after 19 minutes, latching onto that loose ball in the box. It was just a really good forward play, wasn't it? Very great anticipation. No one saw him coming with that late run. Suarez had already missed a penalty by that point, so Atleti did need a bit of a kind of pick me up to keep the momentum going. Mateus Cunha then doubled the lead with his 5th of the season before Borja Mayoral and Enes Unal gave Getafe a 3-2 lead. But then Correa equalised to make it 3-3 by half time. So what a first half that was. Real end-to-end stuff. It was hard to know really which direction the game was going in at that point. The game kind of stayed level until very late on. Mario Hermoso then popped up with a last-minute winner for Atleti, who by that point were down to 10 men after Felipe was sent off for a pretty silly high boot challenge. It was all kicking off here, and ultimately a really, really important win for Atleti, because of course Barca drew on the weekend in a dramatic tie with local rivals Espanyol as well. So that brings them level on points. Barca marginally ahead of them on goal difference in that final Champions League spot. Henry, back to Correa, because he's having an amazing season, isn't he?
Unbelievable. I mean, his double takes him to 10 goals and 4 assists. La Liga this season. You rightly pointed out his form in January, scoring for fun. And this already, is his highest ever sort of tally in a single campaign. He'd never hit double figures before in all competitions, excluding international football. Even then, I only think he's got like a couple of goals, if that, for Argentina. But he's just proving so clinical this year. He's one of these players where his XG, he's running really hot right now. I don't even care about that. He's just because a lot of people go, he'll drop off, but he's just being super clinical. He's taken 2.4 shots per 90. It's his best return since 2017. But this is what I like: 30% of the 26-year-old's efforts are resulting in a goal. That's the 4th highest rate in Spain, and not everyone above him is like attackers. Some of those are just defenders who are having like the odd pot shot and stuff like that. So he as you say, dragging Atletico towards Champions League qualification season. I mean, it's just such a bizarre season for Atletico, isn't it? Can't remember one like this where they're having to win games 4-3 and stuff like that. We've seen it every week at the moment. Just drama at both ends of the pitch for Atleti. Correa scored with both of his efforts against Getafe. They would have been good value for a draw, it has to be said. They stay in 15th, 5 points clear of relegation. But huge result. If Barca hadn't won that game, drawn that game at Espanyol, we'd have seen them. Many red cards involved in that match too. Look, red cards across Europe actually this weekend. That's my takeaway. But, and as you know, and Betis holding on, getting another 3 points, bouncing back from that defeat last weekend to Villarreal. So that top 4 race is really heating up, isn't it? I mean, if you had to quickly go for the top 4 based on current form, what would you say, Mikey?
I'm quite tempted just to go with the current top 4, to be honest. I feel like, I don't know. I think if one's going to drop out, it will be Betis and Atleti will come in. But I feel like that top 5 will probably stay fairly similar. I know Villarreal have been on pretty good form recently as well. But I think I'll go for that. As for Correa, though, you talk about XG, but he does have like a higher... I think his non-penalty XG and assists this season is the best in the Atleti squad. Like, he's clear of Suarez. People say that he might slow down, but actually I think he's running. The goals he's getting are pretty deserved considering his performances. So I wouldn't be harsh on him even in that regard. He very much is Atleti's talisman this season. And actually, we've got a video coming out this week on kind of similar players who kind of your clubs are relying on to get through this season. So yeah, go check that out when you can.
Love that. All right, there's the referral you need. Mikey, thank you for joining me this morning. Hope everyone has a good rest of their week. Make sure you check out the rest of our content. Make sure you're subscribed to Eurofootball Daily. Hit that notification bell, like the video, all that stuff. And we'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.